Sure.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, I was going to say I have 3 different screens here in front of me in my office. So if I'm looking up here or down here, that's that's why.
No problem. So you seem like you got an interesting set of jobs. You kind of want to go into that?
Yeah, I guess I dabble in a lot of different things, but full-time I'm a licensed nursing home administrator at a retirement campus in North Central Ohio, so not too far away from you. For school, I actually went to a MAC school in Indiana, which is where I was born and raised.
NIU?
And I got degrees in healthcare management as well as leadership development.
Mm-hmm.
So I've spent my entire adult career in healthcare as my primary occupation. But outside healthcare, I created a pet cremation company in 2014. And around the same time, I also got into real estate. And just how that happened, my wife and I moved out and we turned our first home into a rental. And then we also purchased the commercial building where our business was operating out of. So there were preoccupations outside my primary passion, but mostly I dabble in real estate, small business, and I also do some active stock investing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's small time and it's not tied to a business structure.
Mm-hmm. You got a lot of your hands in a lot of different areas. I like it.
Well, you too. I mean, you got your financial business and you got your podcast.
Yeah, correct.
Are you now? Is your podcast? Are you treating that like a business or something else?
Just more promotional for myself and just other businesses. I guess I could put ads on it, but there's not enough active listeners, in my opinion, where that's justified.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you have a good. I think you have a good solid foundation for topics that young millennial entrepreneurs want to learn about and want to get involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from the health and fitness side to business and organizational structures to, of course, the financial side as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're hitting good topics, and you keep that going. I really think you'll see your listener base improve.
Yeah, I mean, if my guests like yourself just kind of promote it as well, it gets introduced to new avenues, and then maybe eventually I ask you if somebody else could get on. That's my goal for right now. Just start slow. I've been getting a lot of people reaching out to me to get on it as well recently, which has been pretty exciting.
Did you been staying productive during COVID?
I have. I work from home, and I got a lot of initial phone calls because I specialize in helping businesses with their 401k plans. So I got a lot of calls from participants, just a lot of them asking if they could get their money out. I like to structure the plans where you have to be retired because that money should be saved for retirement. That's why plans have matches. So it's the best interest, in my opinion, if there's a match to make it that way. But a lot of people were worried trying to get their money out. But if you look at the market, it already bounced back. Not totally, but it's almost getting back to it, which is pretty wild in my opinion, but there's reasons for that.
It is. Now, I mean, we have seen a lot of individual stocks that have reclaimed their highs of what they were right before the March crash. But I'm just curious, are your private investment clients, what are they talking about? Are they looking at transferring into select sectors like minerals, oil, gold, silver? Have you noticed any trends like that?
A lot of them are looking towards tech-based stocks. A lot of them.
Yeah.
And I usually those are aggressive stocks, and they should be a little more volatile, and not really kind of a recession type of stock. But as we've seen, they've been doing the best. They've really been propping up the entire market, from Facebook to Amazon. It's just been they've been skyrocketing. I think a couple of them have reached pre-COVID levels too. Not a lot of gold. I've been getting a lot of questions about Bitcoin. I'm not a big Bitcoin guy. Too speculative, and just I'm not. That's just not my forte. So I stay away from that. But yeah.
Yeah, I know people are worried about inflation, but I think even with the stimulus injections, you're simply replacing earned income. You're not actually overinflating the market with money that's that's there plus on top of what the government's putting in. So simply replacing earned income, I don't think you're going to see a lot of inflation like some people are fearing. So we could just continue to see a rise in the market overall,
Mm-hmm.
which is really exciting. If we can continue doing well, like with 5G and some of those 5G stocks and other areas of tech.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that statement. I mean, I think a lot of money is going to go back into equities. There's not really good alternatives as there used to be. I mean, bonds, interest rates just aren't there. You get better dividends in blue chip stocks. So, nobody's putting money in bonds right now. So they put it back into equities. Real estate's I've been talking to a lot of mortgage specialists, realtors, and just people in the real estate game. And it sounds like the housing market and just housing purchases stayed the same, especially here in Columbus. I mean, it's been real hot here. I know that just from firsthand, just noticing it. It's just rapid development.
Columbus is a beautiful city, and having the Buckeye Stadium and everything going on there with school is really putting a lot of money into that economy. But it is a little bit nervous to think about, is school actually going to resume session? How soon until sports get back? So I'm glad to see there's still commercial building going on, but I think in the near term you might also see some foreclosures, or at least tenants, whether business or personal, you're probably going to see some defaulting on rent, which might push a lot of landlords out of ownership. So start to look for that maybe closer to January 2021. I think you're going to see some housing and storefront, like commercial real estate, start to suffer, at least in the near term.
I agree with that. It's definitely going to happen in some cases, but from the at least the Columbus market, I mean, the Columbus economy is just so strong. You have the capital, you have the school, you have an booming tech field, and then the insurance side. It's such a hub here, and those are just basically recession and economic downproof stocks that this economy is just, I think, in my opinion, just going to stay the same, if not, improve.
Yeah, and I hope to see that. I think you're going to see some opportunities, though. I know you've talked about wanting to get into, some real estate, possibly looking at purchasing something. Are you looking at more residential or commercial for yourself?
I have a home right now. Right now, it's a resident. I have to live in it for a year before we can rent it out, because I bought it with my sister. Kind of partners in that regard. But the goal with that is get rental income, put that into something safe from an investment standpoint, and then it's in her name, in our not in her name, but in our business's name. And then, so I'm not on the loan, so I can get a loan. So the bank will give me a loan because I don't have any debt on my record. So I'm going to look into a little bit more of a rental, just a rental property, and just maybe put a lot of improvements on that, and then just go from there and just keep building and compounding rental properties.
Yeah, and that's great, and hopefully I think you'll see some deals come about here in the near term. It's just unfortunate with COVID, a lot of people don't have the paychecks, and like I said, you're probably going to see a little bit of default on some of the loans, but you might see some landlords that just maybe they're tired of dealing with it, especially after COVID, not receiving rent payments and just tired of being in the space that they might be looking to sell. So some opportunities there that you should keep your eye out for. Hopefully you get something.
100%. I mean, it's a absolute crisis what's going on, and it's sad to see, but from an investment standpoint, you gotta be emotionalist in that regard, and find the opportunity when they present themselves. And there's definitely going to be some crisis sellers, but for sure, you got to I always keep an eye on the real estate market, because I love it. I'm always been interested into it, and there's definitely deals out there.
Yeah.
So do you kind of want to talk about that? So you have a pet cremation business, right?
Yes.
How did that kind of spawn out of your just your I guess your normal career, I guess?
Yeah, so thankfully my normal career, it's pretty, what I do is I manage retirement homes. So it's a great it's a great industry to be in. There's a lot of advantages, and I'll speak real quick on healthcare. The baby boomer population is expected to peak around 2050. So myself, as well as a lot of millennial healthcare professionals, we're positioned to journey a very valuable career where we can offer great services to, to the largest client base of our lifetime, essentially. So I have 7 years of management experience, in retirement homes and managing properties. But what's great is that there's a lot of recruiters out there. So the opportunity to move to another state or even another country and manage almost any size and style of campus we want is an opportunity. And it's only going to become more popular as our client base grows. But what that's afforded me, back to the small business, is I've had opportunities nights and weekends to build my small business. Where I got going with the pet cremation, essentially I was looking for an opportunity, I guess, to get my own pet cremated. And I ended up learning that it ended up going to another city. So there was no local pet cremation services offered in my area. So outside Toledo and Columbus, you really don't have anything. So I saw the need to offer a really, local based quality product and service for customers. So I started, really, I think it was less than $5,000. I found a commercial spot. I found a used crematorium that was retired, and I set it up. I got my permits in place, and I just simply started marketing myself to local clients. Once I built up that client base, with very low overhead, it was pretty easy to move forward by myself part-time. Then eventually we got a vet contract, and then again build up the experience, get to know and learn the trade a little bit, because there's not a lot of information out there. It's kind of a new niche that people are getting into, but thankfully over the last 4 years, we've been able to kind of corner the market. So we long-term wise, eventually I want to kind of span the entire state from like Fremont to Van Wert, Ohio, and just kind of span that entire space, because north I have Toledo and south I have Columbus, but there's really not a lot of competition in between. So I think I'm on a good track to really, continue to grow this.
I mean, that's incredible that you saw that opportunity. I mean, I know that insurance carriers are getting heavily into pet insurance. So, I mean, the next logical step is pet cremation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're seeing stocks like Chewy and, IDEX Labs and all these different places that are putting heavy money into pets because they're part of our lives, they're part of our family. And just the industry in general of pets is growing by leaps and bounds every year. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. It's not even about, it's really, for me, it's not really about just offering a great product or service. It's about the opportunities that business will give my family, will give you as an individual business owner, learning about tax strategy, learning about, organizational development. There's so much advantages that go into starting a business. It doesn't really matter what it is. And you probably learned that yourself. I mean, you bought out a business and you've been managing it so well.
Mm-hmm. Just what you learn is just astronomical every day. It's just, you're totally inundated with more facts and you just build on top of it. And it's exciting when you get the ball rolling, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to know what you're doing when you start, because you can learn it. And I think strategy beats passion. I know you have a lot of people that say, just do what you're passionate about. But man, when you get down in the trenches with your business, passion sometimes goes out the window and you're just ready to sell. You're just ready to get rid of it. You're so frustrated. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get down and out with whatever business you go into. But I think if you have a solid strategy and you have a corner of the market and you offer a great product that can beat the market, I think you're going to have a long-term advantage.
Exactly. Setting out a game plan and just researching the industry is key to just break into something. I do talk to a lot of people that are passionate, but it's just, if you're going to go from a financial perspective, I totally agree with you. And they both come into play in multiple areas. But having a strategy is key. I remember before I bought out the business, I wrote up a marketing plan and I just researched the industry from like every level just outside of school, because They don't teach you that really in school as they should. But yeah, that has helped me leaps and bounds to, I think, just be where I'm at now, especially just entering a position of managing so much money and clients. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, what about you? Are you working on any new fresh ideas, or you got any prospect businesses in mind that you're working on?
To start a business, or what do you mean? Kind of
maybe new products, new service offerings. I feel like ideas. You always got to have fresh ideas. I just didn't know if you were muddling on something in your head, working it out.
I'm really trying to get this podcast going. I really like it. Just meeting people. I've been able to just grow my network just radically, and I've been going at this pretty heavily. I'm always trying to do real estate, see opportunities there, but from the financial, just Clay Financial, I'm trying to buy out another financial practice. As you said, baby boomers are retiring, and the main age for a financial advisor is, I believe, 59, and they're starting to get on that back end. And there's not a lot of players coming into the market, especially as young as I am. And there's a lot of opportunities out there. I'm working with my compliance team to find those type of individuals that are looking to sell. But with that, it takes a long time. You have to have investment philosophy, matching, and then just kind of how your book or your practice is structured based on fees or commissions. But I'm really trying to get that ball rolling. I'm now in the last year of buying out my partner. He's 66, but he said that if I buy another book, that he'd love to stay on and help me try to manage it, because it is a laborious process to meet all the clients, build that connection. It takes years. Luckily, my first business partner was absolutely great at doing that. Really guided me and mentored me in that regard.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you're young and fresh, and you have great ideas, and I think you'll be able to attract even younger investors too. So, I was curious, do you manage active accounts too, or just passive 401ks?
I do it all. I'm licensed in insurance, but I really prefer that to some brokers I work with, but I do active accounts as well.
So do you have like investment programs with a structured template like growth or dividend income, and you can put your clients in those programs? Is that how it works?
Yes, and it kind of depends on what the client wants as well. I know some clients don't have as much money to play with, and they're kind of looking at it as a speculative part of it, and I kind of just go into what stocks they're looking at and kind of work with them in that regard. But I do have those programs set out for those bigger players that just are looking for that structure.
Okay. And can I ask, what platform are you using?
I use Wellscape right now. That's just what my compliance team offers me.
Nice. Well, I hope the second acquisition goes well. I think right now, coming out of a bear market or in a recession area, that's the best opportunity to get new clients and educate the current ones you have and grow their wealth. So I think you're positioned at a good time right now. Unfortunately, it's still COVID, but fortunately, it still has a benefit for some businesses, and I think you'll be on the forefront of that.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I got my first bear market out of the way as quick as possible. I mean, yeah, I have been able to get a couple clients during this, which has been nice. And then just reaching out to clients to tell them that not to panic, especially long-term positions and players. But yeah, honestly, it was kind of probably good for my business, which is, hate to say it, but that's how it is.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
How about yourself? Have you been trying to, have you seen anything going on that you kind of see just maybe from a marketing standpoint or from a business opportunity? Have you been trying to work your brain around anything?
Yeah, I got to say, Stephen, I have new ideas almost every week, and my wife gets so tired of it because I'm always researching. I'll spend sometimes weeks or months on a single topic, just learning it and digesting books on the topic or podcasts on it. And then usually those ideas don't always work out, or I realize that obviously other players are already too big or whatever. But it's just fun learning about those things. most recent for my company, our company, it's technically, my wife's the CEO. I technically work for her. But our company, I'm looking at the e-commerce side because we have some amazing handcrafted urns that we do right here locally through woodworkers. I also have a guy that does glass blowing, and he's been able to put ashes inside of these really cool glass orbs. So I got a lot of really cool products that our customers love. But on the e-commerce side, that I've looked at, there's just, at least for me, I can't find really nice quality stuff out there outside of what we offer. So I do think there's a good opportunity there to get on an e-platform and start, whether I partner with a wholesaler and sell some of their products as well as mine, that might be the best option. So I've looked at Shopify, I've looked at Fiverr, I've looked at some of these options out there, but I'm not an expert on it yet. I just started digging into it.
Mm-hmm.
But
e-commerce is definitely something that I want to get myself included. I need to find a product. I definitely need to do my due diligence on an industry, because I believe I can market a product from what I've been able to do with Clay Financial. I feel I have that skill. I have the ability to absolutely just basically start from nothing. If I have a product that I believe in that could sell and make profit, I'm really looking towards doing that at some point. But like you said, I mean, that e-commerce it's a whole different skill to learn, and it does take time.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's a lot of consultants out there that, you pay them a small fee and they'll get your e-commerce shop up and running. So look into that. But something else for you, Stephen, I think you could take advantage of talking, not even necessarily advertising, but you could find an affiliate link. Maybe it's a certain coffee that you love, or maybe it's a certain MCT powder that absolutely boosts your brain and gives you productivity. Find a product that you're using, get an affiliate link to it, and just simply put it in your show notes or tag it when you post this, and then you can actually make a small commission on that as well. So I think go ahead.
That's a good idea. I mean, I looked into starting some type of coffee brand, but I got too busy. But doing that would also be fairly smart. Like Amazon affiliate links.
I think you can actually get affiliate links directly from the supplier. You might have to contact them. A lot of times on their website, they'll have affiliate options. But just, find products you're using in your everyday life to make you productive. And I think, like I said, your podcast, I think, has a ton of potential, and you've grown it so well organically. Maybe consider putting just a short intro and a short exit. And you don't have to necessarily, like I said, have a sales pitch or anything like that. Just simply explain, hey, I'm Stephen, with Clay Financial. We're here to talk about everything business in Ohio and outside, and then go right into your presentation. But you could also throw in there at some point, a product that you're using. And like I said, find that affiliate link, because you'll get a percentage on it if people click through.
That's not a bad idea. I have not been focused too much on the production side of it, just really recording it, editing it, and then putting it out there. But I have been getting some traction just from views, and that's not a bad idea to get some type of just more production behind it. Because I think after this week, I realized that I could really kind of push this to the next level. So that is something, because I was kind of doing that prior when I was just doing individual shows just with myself. I put a lot of effort into it, but I wasn't getting the views through YouTube. So I kind of just I didn't want to do it because it wasn't worth my time. But I had that skill where I could put that production effort into it. And it's not a bad idea. I like this advice you're giving me.
Well, I mean, like I said, you have a lot of potential, and I love podcasts. I've always been involved in podcasts, so I've seen really good ones and I've seen really terrible ones. But I think, like I said, you have a lot of potential, and your growth organic is doing really well. So maybe if you ever want to co-host and do something together, we could pick a topic each week and and share some value with your client. So,
I would love that. I just had a repeat guest on this past. I believe I posted it Monday. But he wants to do one every month, just go over topics, flesh out ideas. If you want to do that on any schedule, I'm totally open. I can always set aside a time frame for this.
Yeah, I think I heard it. Is it Andrew? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Andy Grove.
Yeah. No, great guy. You guys had a lot of good conversation in there. He's very intelligent. You two combined did a great show. So keep that up. Find people that that obviously specialize in whatever their field is, and then pick that topic and go with it. So you're doing a great job and you're on track.
I
Definitely.
appreciate it. I'm trying to make it a little kind of open forum, just depending on what people want. I mean, I call it the Ohio Business Podcast, but it's just because I'm based in Ohio, and it's just, I don't know, you know. But I'm not gonna. Someone's in Florida, I'm not gonna not talk to them. I mean, it's industry insight, you know.
Exactly. So have you been collecting? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just curious, have you been collecting best practices and starting to apply them to your life, whether it's productivity hacks or productivity tips or life hacks, or just, you know, just anything in general that's made you better?
I really focus. I've always focused on self-improvement just from a personal standpoint. I don't think I've really gotten into that as much in these podcasts. I've learned a lot from marketing, and just the importance of ads, and also sales techniques, you know, just through cold outreach, email marketing. I've used that a lot through my business. I haven't really gotten into too much personal development. Nobody's really wanted to talk about it. I mean, is there something that you would kind of want to go into?
I love personal development. I mean,
I do too.
If you're not your best self, you're not going to be productive, you know, and we could spend probably a whole podcast just talking about health and wellness in general, because it ties into everything in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the cores are the fitness, your sleep, and nutrition. And if you can get those three, not perfected, but if you can at least get a well-rounded perspective on those three and work on them, it's going to affect everything else in your life. You're going to be more productive. You're going to have better ideas. Your business is going to grow. Your finances are going to grow. And so that's my philosophy. I feel like you have to have that foundation of fitness, sleep, and nutrition. You got to have that core. And and I look at it like a well-rounded wheel, you know, each you know, peg of the wheel essentially is one of those topics. And if one deflates, you know, your whole life is going to get off balanced. So yeah, I mean, I love talking on that stuff and sharing just what I'm doing and collecting best practices from other people, for sure.
I totally agree. I mean, one thing that I was really upset about during this COVID crisis was that I couldn't go to the gym anymore. That's my sanctuary. I mean, I've been going to the gym since I was middle school, like pretty much every day. And this has been like the longest layoff I've had. But fortunately, I love running as well. I ran a marathon a couple years prior. I ran a half last year. So I just went back to that, like back to normal. So, but I did jiu-jitsu, but it became too expensive, really time consuming. But that's something I'm looking forward to getting back into at some point, because that is, I think, the most absolute perfect exercise for your mind and body. And it's just a great way to meet people.
Yes.
Connections I made when I did it was just some of the best people I still talk to.
Yeah, I mean, you're building those relationships, and you're also burning off, you know, stress, and you're decompressing your mind to wash that anxiety away. So it helps your brain be more creative, especially when you get done with that workout, for sure.
Now, you're a spiritual man, is that correct?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, go ahead.
I believe that is so key in a lot of just people's personal development as well. And I feel like that's really lost in today's day and age. And it's pretty cool that I don't know what part, you know, how big that is in your life, but you kind of go into that.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, we say spiritual. I mean, for me, you know, it's, you know, for me, it kind of flows into the mentality. So, you know, if I want to get my mind right, first thing in the morning, you know, what I'm doing is I'm reading in my Bible. So, you know, I work through the Bible app, and I'm going through the New Testament in a year. And I did this in 2018, and it's about a chapter a day. And it's not a lot of work to get through the whole New Testament. And in 2019, I took it off, and I did some other readings and some of the books of Roman and the books of Paul in the Bible. But anyways, I got back into it in 2020, and that's just the first thing I do in the morning. Usually I'm up early, and in general, I just chew through audiobooks almost on a daily basis. But my reading is focused on the New Testament in a year, and it's a small commitment, but it's the best gain that you'll ever get. And some people can compare that to like mindfulness or meditation, but for me, it's prayer. You know, it's being so grateful and thankful for the blessings that I have, and just putting myself in that mindset of prayer and meditation is the best thing that I think I personally can do for myself, because I have no anxiety when I'm done. My stress is gone. I'm so thankful for my kids and my wife and just all, my small business and everything. And I can work through that in a single run. Plus get in some audiobook too. So there's a lot, I think there's a lot of benefit, and yeah, I love talking about it too.
Being appreciative is absolutely astronomical. And I do it every day when I wake up, just go over things that I'm thankful for, because I mean, I'm beyond blessed to be where I'm at. And it helps me out through my business. I think about somebody that I normally wouldn't have. I reach out to them, try to connect with them. And I don't think I would have if I don't do that practice throughout the day.
Yeah, definitely. Have you read any books recently that you want to bring up? I'm curious.
Books recently. I'm reading, what is it called? The Jordan Peterson book. What is it? The 12 Rules. I forget what it's called, but it really focuses on just not comparing yourself to other people and just comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. And there's a great chapter on like child rearing and how to raise a child. And it's pretty interesting to see, because I don't have kids myself, to kind of see how important it is to raise a child correctly and to put thoughtfulness into it at every step of the way. And it makes sense. And it's a great book.
Yeah. Yeah, child rearing in general, it is the most stressful but most rewarding thing you can possibly do. But I love that message in the book, because it's not about what other people look at you and think. It's about your philosophy of life. If you have a core foundation of saying, like for me, for example, family legacy is my main philosophy focus in life. So I want to consult with and build up strong businesses, strong fathers, and empower people who want to really make a difference for the next generation. So, I have a long-term plan. I got 5-year goals. I'm looking ahead constantly. And, I think like I said, if you have that foundational, solid rock in your life and your identity is mounted in that, you're going to be successful no matter what you do.
I totally agree. Having, knowing yourself and being disciplined from day one and just carrying that as a normal everyday part of your life. And then thinking 3 to 4 steps ahead is extremely key. Planning out, how are you as a man going to be, if you don't plan out your day or your week, how are you going to beat the man that plans out years, decades, a lifetime? You just can't. You gotta plan out your week, you gotta plan out your day, and then branch off from that. And it's so key. A lot of people miss that first step of planning out your day, and they're so focused on their goals that they get tripped up on the day-to-day, and then they lose sight of their goals. And planning is big time in what I've been able to accomplish, in my opinion. And goal setting, it's just a foundation of life that I think everybody should do.
Yeah. Well, and you get that dopamine hit when you check something off that list too. But going into your day, let's say the night before or Sunday before bed, you plan your week out. It gives you that self-assurance, knowing that, this is what I have going on. And then, yes, it puts you on task to get those things accomplished for sure. So how do you manage your tasks, Stephen, in your time management? I'm curious.
Time management, I usually wake up, write out business clients that I have to reach out to or get tasks done. And I usually do that immediately at a reasonable hour to, reach out to somebody. And then that's my first step, is reach out. And then I put down just everyday things like gym, meditate, read for this amount of time, get those meetings in there somehow. And then I always make sure to work out. Sometimes I lose track of my diet. At one point I was probably the most fit I've ever been in my life, but I was keeping track of like every calorie. Luckily I've been getting back into that habit, and I don't know why I stopped. I felt like I was confident in what I was doing, and then I gained a lot of weight. So relative to myself, but so I'm getting back on that track through apps and fasting. Fasting has been pretty key. Just I've noticed I think clearer and I just feel better when I fast. So I'm keeping track of that, and that's just been helping me out. But that's how usually I plan out my day, through apps and just note taking. And
yeah. So on your fasting, are you doing intermittent fasting, like in the mornings?
I usually do like anywhere between 13 to 24 hour fasts, just depending on the day, I guess, because every day is different for me. And, you know, somebody wants to get food, I'm not going to say no to it. And then I'll just end the fast and restart it if I don't have anything that next day. I'm not too stringent on the fasting. I was in college, and that was probably the best. That was the best I've ever felt when I'm not eat till like 1 o'clock every day. And it was great, but that was more of on a strict schedule. So everything from a business perspective.
Yeah. I think when you take like what's that?
Go ahead. No, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say fasting like a 3 or 5 day fast, that can be extremely valuable, but also extremely difficult. I know Peter Attia and some other nutritionists out there have talked highly on that. But for me, I look at intermittent fasting, which is simply cutting off my food at like, let's say 7:30 at night. And then the next day, my morning is so simple. It's either a veggie smoothie, coffee, and maybe a boiled egg, but it's not much food at all, maybe a little bit of protein. And then I don't eat, like you said, until usually 12 o'clock, 12:30. But you're getting the intermittent fasting really for almost, 12 to 16 hours, essentially, depending on your schedule. And that's so good for your digestive system and a lot of other benefits. And you'll see that in your blood panels too. If you can be consistent with intermittent fasting, nutritionally, you're going to see a lot of benefit.
Mm-hmm. It's just a great way to just clear out your system, especially if you've never done it before. A lot of people just eat constantly, and it's just a good way to just reset your whole body and just realize that you don't need to be constantly eating 3 meals a day, especially, and just the amount of portions that you take in. It's a good reset.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate. I think food's so plentiful and easy to obtain that unfortunately we've lost the sight of food being fuel for a body. And I think if you can get that mindset that it's fuel, it's not just something to eat when you're bored, you'll have a better respect for food. And I think you have a better understanding for how to utilize food and healthy food in your life. And that's why I love cooking. I mean, it goes without a doubt. Cooking is actually super manly, and it's super valuable, so valuable to learn from your life. So we could talk about that some other time too.
Man, I have so many friends that don't know how to cook. It's like, wait, what are you going to eat? Like, what do you eat? Like, how do you treat yourself,
Oatmeal and anything out of a box, I guess, but that's just terrible. It's so simple to cook put something in a wok, throw in some ghee, butter, or some extra virgin olive oil, and you have a meal within 10 minutes. I mean, it's not difficult, and you're going to feel so much better. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be in the kitchen. It can be your Pit Boss grill, your smoker, maybe you're filleting fish. I mean, you got to learn, I think, the art of cooking and prepping food. It's going to treat you well long into life, that's for sure.
It's something that should definitely be researched at a young age and just build upon. I don't know why it's not more prevalent with young people, but not a lot of people. I'll invite somebody over for a date. This is my dating life, but I'll have them over for, to cook food for them. It's like they never done it before. It's like, it's just, you gotta eat. I don't know. It's just food, you gotta treat yourself.
Yeah. And I probably run in a different crowd than you. I'm 30. So a lot of my neighbors and friends and the guys that I hang out with, they're really big into smoking. We love smoking meat like brisket, and we'll get lamb's leg every once in a while. But I love looking at recipes and getting into that. So maybe it's not popular with I think it's Gen Z that's right behind us. Maybe they don't get into that stuff.
I don't know. I mean,
it's interesting.
I'm almost 2 years out of college, so maybe it just hasn't become a thing yet. I don't know. I feel kind of ahead of my generation in a couple aspects, but maybe that's just who I am. I don't know. There are people that like to cook though, but they're usually, it's just, I think it's a discipline standpoint as well. And just scheduling. You got to figure out how to cook it. You got to follow a detailed list on how to buy the ingredients, and then you got to do it correctly. I mean, I don't know, but not a lot of people do it that I see.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're probably pretty mature for your age, and obviously your life experience has pushed you to that level. So.
Yeah. Plus, I talked to my mom a lot about it. She was a great cook, so maybe that's also just another resource that I have. But now, is there anything else that you kind of want to go into? I mean,
Well, we kind of went all over the place, man, but that was fun. Yeah, I guess, let's try to get back to business here for a second. For people out there that are thinking about creating something or starting a business, it doesn't have to be complicated. And I'll kind of break it down here real quick. If you have a hobby, I'll say this, if you have a hobby that makes money, you need to incorporate it. Okay. You need to put a tax structure around it, because tax sheltering advantages alone, that'll double your revenue, and that will save you from taxes at the end of the year on your income. So, and I'll back up just a little bit. If you're getting started in a business, I encourage people not to try to escape from something. Some people say, man, I got to get away from my bad boss, or I got to get out of this bad work environment. Unfortunately, that's not healthy if that's your driver for looking into a small business, is to escape. My encouragement is that you need to find a day job that can sustain you for at least 10 years, something that you will maybe not enjoy or love, but something that's going to sustain you, that you can keep a steady paycheck coming from, because I'm afraid people discount that steady paycheck when they're looking for that small business, because they think the small business is going to sustain them. So keep your day job and then look ahead and incorporate something, because at the very beginning, Stephen, your business doesn't have to be profitable. All your expenses, like your home office, your internet, even your trash, if your business generates trash, all of those are expenses that you don't have to pay personally out of your checking account. You can write those off from the business account. And even if you don't have a lot of revenue coming in from the business, those losses will help offset your income, your taxable income at the end of the year, because an LLC is a pass-through entity that you do through your Schedule C, as you know. So many tax advantages, and I know taxes are probably boring for people, but if you just spend some time learning about them, you'll learn that you can make a lot of revenue, or at least additional income, just from simply incorporating your business.
I tell people that all the time. If you have some type of lifestyle business that it doesn't have to generate revenue, you can write off a lot of not personal use, but if it's incorporated in your business, you can write that off. And that's a lot of money, especially the younger you are. And it might work out. You might have a profitable business endeavor at some point, but you can write those taxes off in the meantime.
Yeah. Well, and when you say profitable, I mean, keep in mind, your business can be investing into real estate, like buying out the building that you're sitting in, buying new equipment, paying down your debts. So it's not, a lot of people want to profit first. They want to take that paycheck first thing. If you have your full-time job, or at least something to sustain you, I recommend don't pay yourself. Actually be investing in the business, paying down your debts, building assets, because over time, like I said, there's a lot of things that the business can pay for that you're probably paying out of your personal checking account right now. I mean, look at your Roth IRA contributions. The business, if you're a sole proprietor or the business owner, your business can write you checks, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your business can write you checks directly to your Roth IRA.
You could set up some type of, I don't know directly into a Roth, but you could set up some type of 401k where you can solo 401k. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's a good question, because I could do that for myself.
Yeah. Well, like for my children, for example, if you have kids, you can take photos of them and put them on your website, put them on your marketing collateral, and then consider them employees. And now children under a certain age don't pay taxes on income. So you can pay your kids, and then you can then fund their Roth IRA.
I did not know
fund
that.
their 529 plans. Your business can essentially fund your children's education or whatever it is you want to put the money into. So many advantages to incorporating something. Definitely.
100%. I need to. How did you kind of get in, like, knowing this? Were you just through reading, or just talking to consultants, or?
Yeah, in pet cremation, man, there's no consultants.
Yeah.
There's no one out there. You got the big businesses in the big cities, but out here kind of in the country area in the middle of Ohio where I am, I had to learn everything on my own. So I definitely read through Robert Kiyosaki's series. He has a great series on incorporations and tax sheltering, real estate. Of course, he has a business on real estate. But he has, I think, about 4 different books, not written directly by him, but by his team, that if you're looking to get into business, or maybe you have one and you're looking at better movement of your wealth, start reading some of those Rich Dad series books. That I definitely recommend that.
Yeah, he did Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Yeah. And I think it's called Rich Dad Series. And you can Google it and find several different books, but there's one on incorporations that talk about S Corps and LLCs. Because that's the thing. A lot of people, they'll start their business as a sole proprietor. I try to stay away from being a sole proprietor because you're legally liable if someone comes to your office and they trip and fall. Well, who's the owner that's on the deed of the business? Well, it's you as a sole proprietor versus an LLC. You're protected. So if someone unfortunately trips or falls or hurts themselves at my shop, they can sue the company, the LLC, but my personal assets and my home and my 401k are protected from that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he has a great, I saw a YouTube video he made. It was that, the rich don't own anything because it's all in their LLC's name or corporation's name. And I put my car in
exactly.
it, or I didn't do my car, but like the house. And if you get sued, it's, they can't take you for everything you own.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert by no means. That's why I'm deferring to you. But yeah, I've done a lot of research, and I think, like I said, do the research. I mean, you got to look at the tax code. I know it can be boring stuff, but there's a lot of advantages in there, and the rich take advantage of those tax loopholes because they're built in there for a reason. So definitely look at them and use them as best you can.
My generation is all about taxing the rich and the wealthy, and you can't do that because they don't have their wealth. They want to have a wealth tax or whatever. You can't tax wealth because they don't have that money in a bank account. It's worth something else. And I keep seeing comparisons, like if Jeff Bezos just paid whatever he could fund the healthcare system, he doesn't own the wealth in his bank account. And I don't know why it's such a popular talking point and why communism is becoming more of a political mainstream ideal. And it's like, it's not feasible, and it doesn't work in other countries that have implemented, like Italy. And it's just, I don't understand the disconnect. And I don't know why because politicians are looking for votes, but it's awful that they're using those talking points. But yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys talked about it on one of your podcasts, how if you taxed the entire billionaire population and drain their bank accounts, it's still not even going to touch 3 or 4 trillion, not even close. So you're right. Everything's tied up in trusts when it comes to the wealthy, and it's intelligent, I guess, to learn some of those methods, because if you're building wealth for the future, and that's the problem. I think a lot of people have such a short-term mindset. They don't think about, passing down generational wealth to the kids, or passing down a business, or hiring their children and then passing that wealth through to them. But yeah, I think, and I love this topic, and we could go on all day about it, but wealth is not always financial. It's raising offspring that will make a difference. It's spiritual growth and understanding and passing that down to them. It's emotional stability. Hey, children, how do you handle life's punches? It's the physical resilience, which will hopefully transition into longevity, which I see 100-year-olds all day long that I interact with. And it's the healthy ones that were eating well, that were exercising, that were out on the farms. They are the ones living to be 100 years old. And absolutely love talking to some of my folks here. Love them to death, but I can get a lot of best practices when it comes to that topic alone. But I'll kind of summarize by saying this. My philosophy is so simple. It's about keeping life's wellness wheel balanced, as I talked about earlier. And it's not about me. You'll learn this from me. It's not about my business. It's not about my wealth. It's about building that legacy. And that's my wife and I. Eventually, we want to have a family foundation. We want to be able to support ministries, support adoption and foster families, because that's what we did. So, it's not about the near term. It's not about the short term. So hopefully your listeners have a mindset for long term, or at least can build that up. Look to the future, not just what you can make in the short term.
I totally agree with you, man. I really don't need much in my life. I consider myself a minimalist in many instances, and I want to give back to the community. And I'm not at that point, but I do plan on doing that. And that's so important, because your community is you. That's your environment, and I want to give back to it as best as you can.
Yeah, definitely. Have you started doing anything like that? Whether it's serving on boards or donations, or I'm just curious. I mean, or what's maybe your next steps for getting involved in your community on a deeper level?
Definitely charity. I'm not just like volunteering. That's what I'm trying to focus on now. I have looked into going to nursing homes, so I could come to one of your retirement communities. That'd be cool. Because I love talking to the elderly. Those, like, they have so much wisdom, and I don't know. There's just so much untapped knowledge from them, and that's something I'm looking forward to doing. I don't know about sitting on a board. I don't know I'm not too familiar on how to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, I unfortunately, our nursing homes are all shut down right now, thanks to Governor DeWine, but it's for the advantage and safety of the residents, of course. But as you can imagine, with the complete shutdown, it's isolated our seniors worse than anybody else. And I agree with keeping them safe and distancing them, keeping masks on them, which we do. But unfortunately, not just seniors, but also just in general, the entire population, we're depressed more than ever. We're frustrated with this isolation, and you're going to see a lot of depression. You've already seen depression. You've already seen suicide rates. Unfortunately, this has not been healthy on us mentally as a country.
Yeah, I saw in a county in California that the past month of suicides have surpassed the yearly total of last year, and it's just devastating to hear that. I mean, look, my buddy just reached out to me. His coworker's son died, and it's just like, oh my, there's so much sadness going on, and the depression, I think, is being fueling these protests and riots and looting, and unemployment. There's a lot of people in uncertain financial circumstances, and there's just a lot of frustration and sadness in the world. And COVID has reaped so much damage. From its outside of its initial problem. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah. And I think you hit it on the head. As Americans being suppressed and isolated, I think we were honestly looking for a cause. We were looking for a reason to riot. We were looking to get our emotions out there. And I'm not condoning what they did, but I have adopted children that are Black, and I have best friends that are police. In fact, my board president was our was our county sheriff for 10 years. So I'm involved on both sides. So I feel like I could speak a little bit to that, but it is not okay to destroy local businesses, local bakeries and barbers and cars, and destroy people's assets and livelihood. That to me makes no sense. And that's very, very unfortunate. But I think we were building up to this point with the governor orders. And unfortunately, it's something we have to deal with.
There was too much uncertainty, confusion, and lack of leadership from across the board. And now is COVID solved? Why are people mass gathering? And now there's continued restrictions on these businesses in certain areas. Ohio's at least, opened up considerably. But like New York, like businesses are getting ransacked nightly for the past 8 days, but they can't open them. It's just, it's confusing, and it's going to be interesting once COVID is totally, I don't think it's ever going to go away, but at least where we can talk about it and look what the mistakes that were made, it's going to be interesting to see the political ramifications on everybody's side, because there was a lot of mistakes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to a pandemic, you got to give the power to the local health departments, in my opinion. The governors are not qualified to make these kind of decisions. I appreciate we have Dr. Acton, who's made a lot of her decisions based upon the data and the science here in Ohio. But that's what health departments, public health was designed for, is to deal with these kinds of things. So thankfully, we're a negative COVID or COVID naive facility, as you want to call it that. We don't have COVID on our campus. But there's a lot of unfortunate facilities out there and administrators like myself that are dealing with this on a daily basis. The staff are suffering because, as you can imagine, when you completely beef up the infrastructure of a hospital and boost equipment and personnel, but then you don't have the clients coming through, what do you got to do? Well, you got to start furloughing people. You got to start sending people home earlier, making them take time off. And what happens is your client base diminishes. And now even in healthcare, we're starting to see a diminish of our clients because everyone's been home, thankfully healthy, but they're not doing elective surgeries. At least they weren't. They're not going in and getting a lot of procedures done, which would then send them to a local home like myself, where we would care for them. We would give them the rehab, the skilled, their services to get them back home and healthy again. So the hospital saw the decline in clients, and now the nursing homes are seeing declines in clients. So I know it's bad in the airline industry and restaurant industry, but unfortunately, healthcare is kind of seeing that too right now. It's definitely the toughest situation of our career, I would say.
If, from across the board, I don't know why anybody would ever open up a restaurant ever again. I mean, just from the red tape and regulation you had to go through already, and then this possibly coming back up, I forget what are they calling it if it comes back up again? I forget what that term is. Second wave, I guess. I mean, then you have to close down your business again. Yeah, and then these protests. I mean, it's just business owners. I feel so badly for business owners right now. Like it hurts to watch because I know what it takes to put into a business, and it's just so hard to watch. But
yeah, it is frustrating. My wife actually wants to buy a winery right now. She thinks coming out of COVID, we're actually going to find an opportunity, which we may, and I think that's in a different category. But I do want to empathize with those that have lost their businesses or have laid off staff. But I also want to say to the business, entrepreneurs out there, there is going to be opportunities to either buy or create something in that space that will rebound. So don't give up hope on that. Yeah, definitely be looking for business opportunities because like I said, you're going to have a lot of baby boomer generation people, business owners that are tired of running their business through COVID, and they're going to be ready to sell, hopefully at a premium.
Exactly. I tell all my friends, I mean, if you just network with the older generation baby boomers, they're going to be selling in droves, and they need buyers. So, and not everybody wants to sell to their kids. So there's opportunities out there. As we wrap up, you want to kind of leave a kind of a message or just any words of wisdom for just entrepreneurs or young people?
Well, I don't know, man. We talked about a lot of stuff. You have a lot of great advice on things.
Well, you too. I've learned a lot from you during this.
For me, and maybe this is just how my mind works, I always have fresh ideas. Most of them won't work out, but there's no harm in learning about a new industry or learning about a new type of software or method of doing business. My most recent idea was just so obscured. I've been obsessing over bow hunting recently. I love venison, and deer meat is kind of hard to come by because you have to shoot it. But I've always known the woods and hunted as a kid, but I've been craving that deer meat. So I looked into a business model of owning and operating a deer farm. I thought, what a great idea. We could bottle feed the deers. We could race them up, and then we could eventually harvest them for meat. Well, it's not a good idea, I learned after some research, but that's just how my mind works. I'm always looking for something that could occupy, whatever might be out there that I think could be fun to just get involved in and learn from.
It's always a great idea to learn how to make money from expenses in your life that are going to happen no matter what. That's good. But thanks for coming on. That was a great podcast. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, Stephen, you too. Good talking with you.